what's up, everybody? It is Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern, and we are back for another Wedding Film School live show. I'm back. I was gone last week. Jay was here last week, and I am once again joined by Jay. Excited to be back. Jay, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. What about you?
I'm also doing pretty well. Had a busy week, but excited to be back in the swing of things.
I didn't
back
do
in
anything
town.
last week. I just sat around and did nothing.
Yeah, that sounds like you.
That's
I
me.
Totally believe that. Jay, you sat still in a chair
Yes.
silently for a
Silently,
week straight.
I contemplated existence and thought about Dune. And you know,
Hey, I did see Dune. I saw Dune 2. It was
How
great.
good was
and
that,
I watched
man?
Dune 1 the night before. I
Okay,
started
good.
at,
So it actually made
9
sense to
PM
you?
or something.
I was with somebody
I took
who
your
had
advice.
yeah. I was
I
with somebody who
watched-
had only seen had not seen the first one, who saw the second one when we watched the second
you can
one.
probably still appreciate some aspects
Sure.
of it, right? Like the cinematography and stuff like that. But
Some
yeah,
of the
you're probably
story.
pretty lost. Yeah. A little bit.
I got some big news though.
What?
I have pink eye.
Oh,
So-
exciting.
Yeah, I didn't know that adults could get pink eye until I had
yeah.
my child seemingly has pink eye every week, maybe.
That's because it's like a daycare or like a school kid. It's a kid thing, right? I mean,
is.
I know adults can get it, but you get it because there's like,
I think we could just admit that kids are disgusting.
yeah.
Like, I think that's what's going on here, is that kids are disgusting. The other news I had is we have a bunch of new episodes of the podcast. So if you haven't listened to the
I saw
podcast,
that.
we've been uploading them also to our other channel, the Wedding Film School Show, which has 50,000 subs now. So if you haven't subbed, join the crew. And go check out these episodes. We've tried to, even our old catalog of like wedding pros we uploaded to the channel on the new podcast feature on the RSS feed, as well as we're uploading the videos the week after they come out on audio. But we recently did an episode on content creators, and I haven't heard your take on this yet. And I was curious before we get into the live reviews, like, are you seeing content creators? And if you don't know, just to catch people up to speed who are watching the show for the first time. First of all, we will review films live, and we'll review submitted films by you
And
guys.
the link is pinned at the top. You can submit your films right now. We are still taking submissions.
You should submit it right now because it's fun.
It's free.
I like reviewing people's stuff who are in chat too. It's way more fun.
It's fun and free and for everyone.
Ooh, I like that. The 3 Fs. But regardless, what was I talking about?
Content creators.
Oh yeah, content creators. If you don't know what a content creator is, basically content creators are people that there's probably maybe a couple spins on what they do, but essentially they do like an account takeover of the bride or groom, and they kind of do live documentation of the wedding day, releasing it. I also think there might be a component where they might film a little highlight film on their phone and release that too.
Yeah,
but essentially,
or film like TikToks and send them to them the next day, or like that kind of style.
yeah, it's basically like bringing the person's social media account into the wedding day. And it's kind of a new thing in some ways. And so we did a podcast about it, talking about our content creators going to take all our jobs and all that stuff. But all that to say, I'd love to hear your thoughts, Bobby. Like content creators, first, are you seeing them in your market? Like, have you worked with a content creator?
I haven't worked with a content creator. I also haven't seen.
I'm also going to drink this Mucinex, by the way, because... So, just ignore me.
Yeah, I haven't worked with any. I also haven't seen, like... I mean, I'm sure there's people offering it, or maybe even some photographers or photographers or filmmakers offering it, but I haven't seen anybody, like, really outwardly offering it. I know Grant's in chat. He's in the same market as me, so I guess Grant, I don't know if you've seen it or worked with somebody, but yeah, I haven't seen it. I also do feel like, look, I don't think I think it's somewhat well known that the Midwest lags behind usually a little bit. So I think we are sometimes a year or two behind coastal cities.
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't seen it really either.
Yeah.
In terms,
I think it's something that's getting blown way not out of proportion, but just like it's the hot new thing to discuss
and complain
so
about.
Think like, yeah, kind of to put it politely, discuss. And then yeah, I think you just like you're hearing about it so much and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like sweeping the nation of wedding films. And it's like, well, really, it's maybe not as big. And I guess, given that I haven't worked with any, I don't know that I have a huge opinion on it. I would say as long as they're staying out of my way, or like, not making my job, if they're not making my job harder, I don't really care. The one hesitation that I would have is like, they're going to get content out faster than I am. And I think if it's posted on the bride's profile, like you mentioned, if they do a profile takeover, I don't mind that as much. But I would, I don't think I would or could do anything about it, but it might be frustrating to be confused, right? To have my brand confused or associated with a content creator's brand, that the quality will just be, it'll probably be fine, right? If they're
well, I think if the couple bought it, they wouldn't be confused. Maybe
yeah, just like, yeah, the people who really matter are not going to be confused.
So I would say definitely check out the full episode, guys, if you're curious about the discussion on that topic, among other things. And the other cool thing I was going to point out is, and then we'll get into the reviews, if you head over to weddingfilm.school/AMA,
yep.
We are taking questions that Jared and I and Bobby, if he has some time, will answer live on the podcast. And so, yeah, we've had a lot of a lot of fun with this format. We've been kind of bouncing back and forth between topics and we might start doing interviews again too. Although I love doing interviews, but I also find they're kind of a pain and they don't really seem to move the needle much.
There's just a lot more to it.
But regardless, if you would like your question answered live on the podcast, there's a link right there.
And even like, if you just think like, look, we all, especially if you've been doing this, if you're not brand new, you probably have an answer to a lot of your questions, or you have an opinion. But if you just want to hear our opinion on stuff, or you think something might be a really good topic of discussion, submit it that way too. Like, it doesn't have to be like, black and white, like, what ISO should I be shooting at, or what? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean,
we just want some prompts from the community. So
for sure. So, who is our first film today?
I'm gonna give preference. See if we got something new. Give me 1 second, because I'm not in the right frame. You want me to just message it to you, or
no? I have it.
Oh wait, you have it here. Aha! All right. Wait, did you do this one?
No, I skipped it.
The top one? Okay.
I skipped it last week.
So we're going to start with a fan favorite, if you will, from Max Smith, who's usually in here.
I would say this about Max Smith. Hopefully he sees this. I think they are now some of the best wedding filmmakers in America.
I think they really, like, I'm trying to think the story arc of the Smiths. You know what I mean?
So I wrote down in Austin, rode down the river.
Oh yeah.
At Alex's awesome event, Vision Quest, which someday let's do it again, Alex.
Yeah. Please.
But I rode down the river with him, and we were just talking for a couple hours, and I got to hear their whole story. So which is why I feel a little like, I feel connected to what they do. They've also been submitting, but like, he's a great example of somebody who I think has done it really right, which is create a lot of demand, get a lot of experience, and then start fine-tuning the product and making it what
really
they want.
Finding his, I think you can tell a film from the Smiths, right?
Now you can, for sure.
And there's certain people where it's like, okay, maybe I would say, is this so-and-so? And you'd be like, no, that's the Smiths. I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, I could totally see that too. But in a general sense, for every one person that you can say, I think this is this crew, they kind of have this look and this feel and this vibe. There's 1,000 people.
I'll say this as a huge. This is how you actually become a good artist, and a lot of people are gonna. This is not a slight. I think you can see people's evolution. Like when people first start trying something, you can see what they're influenced by. Right? Because they're trying to figure something out. And like you could see for a while, like they were very influenced by Little Long Distance, which is a great filmmaker. Go check them out. Or Bottle Brush Films, which everyone knows, great filmmakers. You could see the influence from this like, quirky side of the industry. And it kind of like, it didn't really have its own voice, what they were doing. But I think
that also often reflects the people, like who they are. I don't know them.
Well, now it does. Well, and I think that's when you see like the evolution is like when you first start trying to do something, if you feel like it's just kind of derivative and it's not coming across as you and it feels like you're copying someone, I kind of think that's okay. But you got to keep going and actually work on defining yourself. But like when you first try anything, it's going to come across as not you, and you have to spend some time with it. And work on it and work on that process until it feels natural. And I feel like they, over the last year, like have crossed that bridge pretty quickly from like, they used to make one type of film and then they started implementing these more quirky aspects and you could see the influences and now you're kind of like, it's its own thing. Yeah. It's its own thing that's very different than the things that influence them. And I think that's what you get when you get a lot of opportunities and you do the work and hopefully you're inspired. So let's watch this film.
I don't know if I shared any info, but Max Smith and super fun couple, 2 story sessions, one at Costco, one at the wedding venue, lots of content, etc., etc.
Definitely got to see this Costco session. Let's watch.
So we are reading letters that
you wrote me when I was in basic training.
Yes. Actually, some of them are cards that we wrote when we were dating and when we were cute and young and full of life.
Dear Jeffrey, consider this the first of many letters you will get from me. Even though you are only leaving for 2 days, it still feels like we're going to be apart forever.
I love you so, so, so much. You are my dream come true. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Jeff, I love you this much.
Dear Jeffy, you may not be the best storyteller in the world, but every story you told me meant the world to me.
Oh, Jeff, I just found
What does that mean?
I don't think that check's good anymore. That's 8 years old.
Happy 8 months.
Jesus, dude, I wrote a book.
I know, you used to write really nice things.
I am so sorry I burped while you're talking. Tastes like strawberry ice cream.
This is a dope song. What did you say, my friend?
Oh, I was saying that is exactly what I was just thinking.
Really cool song.
Jeff, today I handed out the most precious and important part of my life to you. Jeff and Yaya, from today on, you two are in my heart forever and ever. I love you both with all my heart equally.
How would you feel if your mom said that she loved your fiance equal to that she loved you at your own wedding?
I don't know. Mixed, maybe.
Mixed.
It's a
like,
nice
wait.
gesture.
Yeah,
right?
it's
you're
right.
also like,
wait a second.
Hey now.
I heard a quote a long time ago. A great man has even a better woman behind him. And when he found Yaya, that was God-given. They're so loyal to each other. They love each other to death, and we can all see that.
got a ways to go. What's happening in this film? Where are we going?
That's what I was interested in. I don't want to watch the whole thing, but I wanted to see that whole beginning.
I want to see that transition, and I want to see if we transition out.
Because I'm curious.
Oh, no, we paused it. So we're going into a very raw moment.
You look so good.
Hi.
Where? Hi. You look amazing.
I think you look great.
Oh my God.
I always wonder with these grooms, like, if they care at all what because, like, obviously the bride, you know, she wants to hear you look great, but I wonder if the guy's like, hopefully she says I look great. You know, because
like, you know, like sometimes, like, I'm trying to think, like sometimes the first thing they'll turn around, right, and they'll be like, oh my God, like, you look amazing, and then the bride will be like, your hair's all messed up, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And it's like, hey, they want those compliments too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's or what it, the guy's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Like,
Or they'll be like, oh, like, you need to fix your bow tie, or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no.
Like sometimes there's like it's not a negative thing, but it's just like, yeah.
Well, I don't think the guys care. Is my point. Like, I don't.
True. Yeah, you're probably right.
It's like they're just so like in the moment. They don't even think about that stuff. But it's funny. It's like when it stands out to me when she goes, "You look good too."
Yeah.
It just stands out to me because I'm like, oh wow. I mean, gives a guy some love too.
Some love, you know. Yeah.
Jeff, I have written and rewritten this vow in my head a million times over the past decade.
I skipped forward a lot.
Yeah, that's fine. Interesting to use
I'm just gonna
kiss
turn the volume
at
down and
such
keep.
a low moment. You know what I mean?
There's just so much shooting in this.
That was like my number one takeaway, and I don't know if it's this film specifically. I mean, granted, they even said in the submission like tons of content to work with, but one of the things I never like, I don't know if I'm just misremembering, but it never stood out to me like, oh, the Smiths, like, yeah, dude, they get so much coverage, but this one you can feel it. You know?
It always stands out to me. It's one of the things like
I said, I just might not.
it looks good, but like I do find sometimes that the stories are a little.
What is this? What are we seeing here?
Exactly. It could be. I mean, I did skip a little, so like.
Is that the same? Yeah, totally. But like, is that the same reception where we saw the speeches from?
No, I think it's here, like right where this ceremony is, like that big stone building.
So what is that room then? Oh wait, no, that looks like it, doesn't it? We're gonna see it in a minute here.
Hold my husband's hand and thank him for an extraordinarily boring life. I vow to remember that you're everything I have ever prayed for.
If I sold like like a 4, okay, it is here. Interesting setup.
Yeah, it's cool.
Also, that cake is something.
I mean, this is beautiful. Reception.
Candlelight. Give me like
Regardless of
just
the
a million
circumstance,
candles and nothing else.
No matter Monday, you were
I love the way they filmed the couple at the reception.
Like
there.
interacting.
No, that angle
I'm forever
and that
grateful,
the way they
Oh.
lit it and like
and our love will only grow from here.
it looks cool.
You make me feel like I can conquer the world with one hand, as long as you're holding the other.
Man, that whatever that statue is, and that light, it's gonna be great. You say they get permission, Max, if you're here. Did you guys get permission for filming Costco? Is that like an issue?
Okay, so let's
Yeah, we
talk
can
about this film.
Move on to critiques. Move on to thoughts.
What did you like? I mean, there's a lot to like. I mean,
I mean, the coverage is like undeniable. And again, maybe it's in other films too. Like, man, they always get so much good coverage. Or I mean, everything's always good from them. But like, it really stood out to me how much coverage. I know they did multiple sessions and whatever. I also am just like, one of the things I think with Max, or with the Smiths, Max and Courtney, right? Is that right? I don't know. I think so. One of the things that I always like think about with them is like, they have this ability that I think is rare to shoot two very different styles, and also to integrate two very different styles into the same film.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I felt like it became uniquely theirs, is when the stuff they did before, they did the hipster stuff, kind of integrated into the hipster stuff, and now it's kind of like half like hipster.
That shot, it's very stylized, very commercial feel, right? Very whatever, but it's like juxtaposed.
Well, even right here, this is like wedding gimbal-y kind of look.
Yeah.
It's just like that wedding stuff. Plus mixed with like
this mix of like raw handheld, what would it be, like voyeuristic?
Well, it's like very J and Mac kind of 24 FPS handheld look, like
intermixed with these very intentional, like well set up shots, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I would say like the shooting is great. The editing is obviously excellent. I like a lot of the ways that they overlaid stuff. I mean, there's hardly a bad shot. There's probably a few, but in general, like, and what I like is they were still doing creative stuff even when they're doing just coverage, like the couples.
Yeah.
So
totally.
so that's good. And yeah, the couple seemed sweet. I felt like I got to know them, and
super cool.
It's a great film
with like a cool day around them too, like a lot to work with, and
a weekend experience.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So that's all good stuff, and I like that. Let's talk about, is there anything that you think you would say they could do to maybe level this film up a little?
So I only have two thoughts. One is really small and one is more theoretical or whatever. So, and again, look, guys, obviously this is an amazing film. My first thought is just on the speech shot. Like, it's a shame that we have to see the exit sign in the background, and I think it did look like a tight spot, but I also feel like there was room to maneuver or to change a shot or to punch
it mask it too
and not deal with that, or mask it. Like, I don't know.
That's actually my favorite shot in the film, by the way, is that guy playing piano.
Yeah, it's cool. So that's like a really small one, and like I know like a lot of people, and I think Jay will usually point that stuff out. Like, I'll see it. I don't know. I'm kind of like whatever. Especially like that wide dancing shot. I'm just like, whatever. I don't know.
There's got to be exit signs.
But just in the speech one, I'm like, I think a little extra work could have just gotten rid of that, and it would have been nice to not be focused on that. And then the only other thing that I would say is like, I think about this film has this intro, right, of the kind of like Costco little thing, and then it has this kind of like intro of that whole first song in some ways, right? It's kind of a recap of the day. We're seeing some speeches, we're seeing a variety of shots from throughout the day, and then we cut to the first look. And I really like the structure. It's appealing. It's interesting to me that you have the highs in the front and kind of the, not lows, but the more subtle in the back half in a lot of ways. Like I mentioned that the first kiss is lined up with like a low point in the music. It's not the ramp up like you normally see and stuff like that, which I find interesting and cool, and I really like that. The only thing I would say is, because that let's call so there's the Costco intro, then there's that other, I'm going to call it first section that goes until like 3.5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a 3.5 minute beginning.
We see a lot of the day, and we see, I think, a little more of like the Costco stuff mixed in and some speeches and whatever, but we don't see a lot of like, I feel like we see a lot more of the scene setting and like the decor in that kind of second half, and I wish we would have seen a little bit more of that in the first half. And then we see other things like this whole other day on the boat, or I'm assuming it's a different day. Like, no, like it seemed like there was stuff that was intentionally reserved for the back half of the film, and I wish there would have been some like allude to it a little bit in the front.
Yeah, let me just jump on that because that's my biggest critique of the film is I question the story structure because first of all, I don't know why they needed two love story or whatever they call them, those story sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I think having two made it confusing. I don't think they needed to. I think it would have been better with just one or integrating the two. Like, I felt like it was weird to keep having to leave the wedding day. You go back and like now we're at their house and sometimes we're in Costco. And then because it's hard enough to figure out what's going on with this wedding, like, I don't know why. Maybe it's just me. I just felt like I was having a hard time placing myself in the film. Like, after I watch it a second time, I can kind of map out the property and figure out like, oh, it's all the same place and all that junk. That's definitely not the only, like, that's not always important to do when you make a wedding film, like make a person understand that sense of place. But it's something I like to do if I can. It's kind of like a person looking at it and they have a sense of like the progress. And I was like, why does this feel so weird to me? Because like, I don't know most locations. So it's kind of similar. I think I always feel this way when I watch the Smiths films. And I think it's because they are always integrating the story sessions the whole time. And sometimes I'm a little bit like getting a little confused on like what's going on. And I just sometimes think like maybe less is more a little bit. Like having a less dense story might be a little more effective. That's all. It's all really well done, but it's like they're just trying to do so much. And I think
that can be tough though too, because if I get presented with a couple who's like, oh yeah, and I love the story sessions, like we want to do one at Costco and on a boat. Could you do that? Like two different ones? I'd jump all over it. And it's almost like this, like maybe like you got ahead of yourself kind of. And then you're like, well, I have to integrate.
Well, it was the boat and the house.
Yeah.
The boat, the house, and
Costco / the house.
Yeah. No, the boat, sorry, wasn't a story session. I think that was just a portrait session at the wedding.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, which there's just a lot going on here.
He said they did one at the venue. They did Costco and then one at the venue. So I think Costco and the house was the same in their eyes.
It's all good. I mean, here's the thing. Like, these are minor critiques because it's very effective film, and it's more like just an overall question of like, when you're dealing with this much content, like, is there such thing as too much? And I'm not definitively saying there is or that they did too much content, but I just feel like possibly maybe
it's a lot to work with and to boil down even to a 8 or 9 minute film or whatever this is, you know, like it's like what's the like a spoil of riches or something like
well, you know what it is? Like, I do a lot of big events that are multi-day, and I do a lot of edits that have just as much content. And I'm not saying we do it better than the Smiths, but I'm just saying it's something for me that's important when I make these edits is that sense of place and a sense of progress. So, like, if someone's watching it, they kind of get a sense of moving forward and not feeling like if it's outside of time, it can be outside of time, but kind of like back and forth between like, oh, they're getting ready. Now they're not getting ready. Now they're having a first look. Now they're at their house. It's a little whiplashy, and definitely they can do their own thing. They're definitely great filmmakers, and just I'm not better than them is what I'm saying. But what I do look at and go is for me and my personal like way of dealing with something like this, I would probably try to ground the film a little bit more when I had this much content. And that's all. And it's like, and I think it really comes down to like when I'm thinking about a film, I'm always thinking about like the external realities of the couple, their interactions with the place and the people at the event. I'm not really trying to get into their inner world.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to do both, it can be tricky because I think what's important to the Smiths is they're always trying to bring what's inside this couple's brains and hearts into the middle of this event. And it's definitely a very impressive thing to do, but it's definitely also creates, I think, some tension between telling the story of a weekend and telling the story of a couple. They do it probably as good as you're going to do it. And so I definitely give them a huge compliment, but it's not something that I definitely don't try to do this. I know you don't try to do this. So maybe it's just me. Maybe they're just blazing such a trail. So
Trailblazers. Yeah, it's
great film.
Yeah, it's a great film. I feel like we watched a good chunk of that.
Yeah, and I don't really have any. There was 2 shots. I was like, these are kind of overexposed or a little out of focus, but that's just how everyone's films are. So
yeah,
all good.
Cool. Well,
thank you so much. We're so lucky to have
thanks for
films like
submitting.
that.
I always love when they submit.
I mean, like anyone watching, if you think for 1 second, I think anything but that was amazing, you're wrong. And I think definitely there's so much to learn from people who can create that much intimacy in a wedding film. So good stuff.
Exactly. We unfortunately always need to come up with a show though, so we gotta have some talking points. So we like to share just our thoughts on what we would maybe do differently.
Well, and that takes a lot for like a really skilled filmmaker to submit something. Like who cares what I say?
Yeah.
They don't need me.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I love Max. Max
yeah.
is awesome.
Well, should we watch another film?
Yeah, let's do it. Who do we got next? And this is a long one, so we'll skip around.
Yeah, this is Isaac Snowden. Shot on a Canon RP with the 28-70. Does not shoot raw, so coloring can be tough. I don't really think that's true. Work within the limits. You can do plenty of color work on
I think that's
not raw video.
Totally not true, but I also understand shooting raw would give you more flexibility.
Give you more if you shoot it right.
I think you should not shoot raw if that's your impression of raw, though. So that's my...
Yeah, don't we have... Did we do...
I've shot raw a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, did we do a podcast on this, or is this in our
log
pipeline?
We've talked about log.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think shooting raw and then like fixing stuff in post. Get ready to shoot. Like, it's not a good business plan.
It's tough to do. All right. Light flicker in the ceremony and reception. Felt I built it well, but again, some rough moments. First year doing wedding videography. Cool. Well,
I love that.
I love Grant doing an upbeat intro. That's not very Fitzgerald Films of you, but I like it. I want to see it. We're in. Wonder where this was.
No way. This one's first year. This is great.
Nicholas, you are my best friend and the love of my life.
There we go. There's the first year.
Yeah, there's the inexperience showing.
Looks great though.
Because it is what I was made to do. But I'm not writing these vows to you for right now, when everything is easy and perfect, but for later when our lives become more complicated. My first vow is to think about these promises that I make to you today, every day, for the rest of my life, and to uphold them, and to live by them even more every day as each day passes. I promise.
All right, remember we gotta skip around on this one.
Yes, I just want to get through this.
Yeah, this
reading.
This section.
Yeah. Here, let's definitely check. So you're a new filmmaker, so I want to see kind of how you cover the ceremony.
Ceremony, it looks like.
We'll skip around, but we'll check out some of the ceremony because this is what makes or breaks people. Just let me rant for 1 second. If you're new and you're into wedding filmmaking, the first thing you need to get right is your multicam coverage of your events. Worry about all the pretty stuff later, but like I always think like walk before you run kind of thing, and I think this is what will make or break you is if you can cover the actual wedding and the speeches and the toasts really well, and the rest of it like I think will fall into place pretty easily. But sometimes you'll see films, Bobby, where like it looks really good, and the second you hit the ceremony, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, you're just like, ooh,
that's not good. And it's like it's literally called a wedding. This is the wedding. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, I have no idea. By the way, I'm not speaking towards this one because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
When you first told me your name, I didn't hear a word you said.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna see this whole ceremony, I feel like, basically. Too much. I'll tell you that right now.
Every moment stole my breath.
I feel like that would look a lot better not in slow-mo, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, let's skip a little bit. Let's see the culmination.
Hope you know it was you that I loved.
There's a lot of nice shots, though.
Yeah.
Kind of a poor white balance choice, I think, but overall.
Where this road leads, all I know
I would love to know what lens they're that close with, too.
I think they're
is I wanna
close.
go with you in a life where there's no sure things. I am sure I wanna live
Okay, let's.
it with
Whoa, I haven't seen that.
What is that their entrance? Or
That's their leave.
oh, leaving the ceremony.
No,
Oh,
no. Yeah. They're leaving
Yeah.
the ceremony with, like, explosions. Let's see if we ever get any.
explosions. Oh, we're back.
so wake me up,
This is copyrighted.
brush my
All right. Let's just keep playing it. Let's talk
pretty
about this
sure.
one. Because I think we can give this person some very quick things to improve on. First
Yeah.
and foremost, you're a good shooter. And I like the fact that you shoot shallow all day because I think it looks pretty. And yeah, I mean, I think you're in the right line of work. Keep doing it. Like even the handheld coverage, it's a little iffy from time to time, and I don't think you should be on auto or AF as much, autofocus, because it's pumping all over the place. But
Yeah.
I don't mind how it looks. I like how it looks, especially your outdoor stuff. Like when you're in these situations, it looks really, really good. So there's a lot of really good shooting.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think like you tell me this is somebody in their first year, and I would be like, oh well, right off the bat, like
I could barely believe you. I would be like, if someone from one of my team shot this wedding, I would release it. Like I would be like, oh, this is a pretty good wedding. They did a good job. Like we would obviously color it differently and edit it differently.
Yeah.
But the shooting is really nice,
Yeah,
especially the
you can make
portrait
a lot with
sessions.
this.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
Also, I liked, we talked about covering a ceremony. Now, I don't really know what the coverage was like. We didn't hear anything from the ceremony. It makes me think they didn't deliver. I mean, we know that audio wasn't good for other stuff, so it makes me think that they didn't deliver a full ceremony. So, it makes me think that they maybe just shot one camera and they were just floating a creative camera. But
Kind of
was
makes
fun
me.
to see some of
It
those more,
seems like that
creative
to me
shots.
too. I was curious about that actually.
Yeah, that's my guess. And then like some good coverage and stuff like that. I agree. I think there's some nice shots of like the outside stuff. Yeah, I think that would generally probably be what I would say as far as like positives for this. But
And I
think,
would just say, as a first year shooter, it's great shooting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's.
Also I was gonna say like look, the outside stuff, yeah, pretty solid here and there, whatever. The inside stuff, like, yeah, there's problems and there's gonna be things that we kind of pick apart, but like I also want to acknowledge shooting in a venue like this is not the easiest thing.
No.
This is a very Midwest, like I don't think this is Minnesota.
Hold
so
on,
I
I'm
don't
gonna
recognize
see what
it.
the music is right here. What's the music here? So they got a little energy going at the end. So.
Yeah. So yeah, again, like I don't think this is a Minnesota wedding, but this feels very Minnesota, right? These like unfinished semi unfinished interior raw wood barns. The color is brutal in there if you've ever shot in one. The lights, flickering all over. Now look, there's totally ways to combat that, and using lights and knowing how to use lights and knowing your camera settings and whatnot. But like
Even just a hue adjustment.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
reducing-
and like in the edit or in
Pull-
camera or whatever.
I
but,
would just
like,
pull some green out in camera out of the white balance.
Yeah, but all that to say, like, I guess what I'm getting to is, again, being in their first year, probably having shot just a handful of weddings, like I've seen those scenarios handled way, way worse, and I'm sure you have too.
Oh yeah, yeah. It could be worse. That
But with that
it's
said,
not
of
so
course-
like. Here's when it's really bad. It's really bad when you can't even fix it in post.
Yeah.
I look at this and I'm like, if a better editor was handling it, someone with a little more experience with color, they could fix all your mistakes. That's why I was saying like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like my team could edit this because we would. You
could make a. What's your
stop go
merriment
love?
film?
But this could be. This is a merriment couple.
Yeah.
I look at this and I'm like, this is like my ideal merriment couple. Fun, beautiful, personal, willing to have some fun with it. I love it. I think you captured that really well, and like especially this stuff. That stuff is awesome looking. I love how it, minus the fact that I think there's a little artificial sharpening that I see that kind of bothers me, but I like it. It looks great. So let's just give them each 3 things they can do to improve as a wedding filmmaker based on this one film that we saw.
You want to go first or second?
Yeah, I'll go first. So,
okay.
I think first and foremost, just having a consistent white balance approach, like throughout the day, I can see like your brain working. You're just changing. And you're like, did I do this right? Did I do this right? Did I do this right? And it's like, kind of just work on that. Like go into rooms and just spot check your Kelvins. Learn to like actually speak Kelvins. I think that'll help you a lot. Like this room right here is what, like probably 2,400 Kelvins, 2,700 Kelvins.
That's a rough room.
But
that's
like
one of those rooms where you're like, is this tungsten? No, this is beyond tungsten.
No, it's beyond tungsten. So like you look at that and I'm like, I'm setting my camera to 3,200 Kelvins in that room. Because I'm like, I want it to look warm because it is warm, but not be like so orangey.
But not warm.
Yeah, too orangey. It's like right there, it looks really nice. I think you can see the skin tone, it looks good. The other thing I would tell them is, like I mentioned before, that if you're going to shoot this handheld style, I highly recommend either get better with riding your autofocus on the back screen, figure out an approach where it's not pumping all over the place because you can see it hunting and doing stuff like that, turn off face detection, things like that. Like get an approach where you're in control of the lens.
Yeah.
Or just shoot more manual focus. And then the last thing is, and probably you'll agree with this, so if you want to also say this as one of yours.
I already have my 3. I'm just saying them regardless. If you say it, that's
okay,
fine.
That's fair. It's way too much slow-mo in a lot of the moments that, like, when she walked down the aisle, I'm like, that should be 24. It'd feel way better. And there's a lot of that. And just as a bonus one, I think the editing is going to be the next thing you're going to have to work on because like the music that you're picking and a lot of that stuff is kind of, I don't think it's really matching your shooting and that's all. So, but those are just specific things. I think that
I'm going to go for 2. I'm going to go progressively from easy to more complicated. Number 1, if your audio is shit, you can't include it. Like that quality in the beginning of her vows or her letter or whatever that was, sounds like it's on camera and you tried to like process it.
At least show it if you're gonna like.
And that, I didn't even think about that, but like, dude, like you can get a Tascam DR10.
It's a $150 problem or less.
Yeah, like this, we have the link in our description. You can see a bunch of audio recorders that we recommend in there, but like that's such an easy, cheap solution. And so I think audio is going to be something that you need to integrate into your films to really move up a level. And it's an easy solution. So that's a great place to start. Number 2, you mentioned a lot of like focus hunting and some of the handheld stuff. My critique on the shooting would really be on like, there's a lot of just what I feel like is like the camera just kind of floating. It's just kind of going where it's going. And I would rather see like a little bit of movement in handheld is fine. I totally get that. But it's like, oh, let's look at the arch they're getting married on the flat. Okay, we're going to go up and then we're also going to
Well, even like look at what we're looking at on camera. Like they're right here, right? Clearly they're going to stand up and you don't anticipate it. You're chopping their heads off. Like you're not in command.
It's like it is very rare that I see a shot that's like just panning left to right or right to left or whatever. And I'm like, that's a high quality shot. Like, so I think there's a little bit of just like inexperience showing there where it's like, get a little more intentional with whatever camera movement you're going to do, if any. Don't feel like you need to. And also like, know the stuff that's like there's a
Anticipation.
fine line between like tasteful and like just kind of old school. Not tacky's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, and then so the last thing I'll talk about is in the edit. I agree with the slow-mo stuff. Like there's plenty that we don't need. There's plenty. This is not a 10-minute edit. It's not even close in my opinion. There's so much included here that especially without audio, like there's a couple minutes of ceremony and there's no audio in that. Like it's just tough.
Was there no audio?
We never heard any.
Let me just make sure that you're right.
Look into my eyes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Hope you
Yeah,
know
it's too long already, and then to like add that much ceremony, like you could cut so much of this stuff down and make a much better film, and not have to fill it with so much. Like I don't need to see everybody coming down the aisle and both directions. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
and also even like you're looking at them coming down the aisle. First of all, you barely hit focus on this one time, and I think that's a mistake. But also like when you look at this moment right here, not to change your subject at all, but like this should be shot significantly wider, and like the music. This should be like when you switch your music.
Yeah, when
like
you ramp up.
this is a highlight of your film, and you just keep the dynamics
just
really
the same
low.
song,
and
whatever.
it's just kinda
Yeah,
like-
there's a handful of editing choices that just need to be refined, is what I would say.
Yeah,
and
yeah, 100%.
part of that is going to be, again, I could be wrong. They did send Soundstripe for one of the songs. I'm pretty sure the last two songs are not licensed, and you can't do that. So,
if you want to get
or you
flagged.
shouldn't do that, in our opinion. I don't know, whatever.
It
I'm
is
not trying to start
morally
some argument,
incorrect, but also a bad business decision because you will never be able to use this film to promote your brand.
Yeah.
This is what I'll say about on the positive side. There's a lot of positives. This is a great film for a first-year filmmaker, just to be clear. Really good film. This person in 3 years will make significantly better work if they're still in the game.
I agree. Yeah, I think if they really like, I think that would be my biggest takeaway for this person, assuming they watch this. I hope they do. Is like, you are starting at a point that I feel is further than where a lot of people start.
Oh yeah, it's good. What I will say about it is, take this film, cut together a 30-second reel.
Yep.
And see where that goes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what I would tell them is like, you know, and also maybe if you have time, I would consider making this a 4.5 to 6 minute film and putting that in my portfolio instead of this 10-minute film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's
that. Good film.
John Areola using the Tascam DR10L for audio. John, have you tried the Tascam DR10L Pro? Thoughts, opinions? Jay, you know what I have found with the Pro that I've been using lately?
No.
Random thought. I don't know why I had it. I find that on the medium setting, the audio is significantly more quiet than the medium setting on the DR10L.
Well, that would be a 32-bit float thing, though, because the thing that 32-bit float is actually the best thing about it. That I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's peaking out, and it's gonna keep me from peaking, and that's great. Mm-hmm. But the best thing about 32-bit float is that the noise floor can be raised without bringing up a lot of residual noise in the actual thing. The problem I find with that thing is that the preamp isn't as quiet as it should be.
So does that introduce some noise for you?
Yeah, a little bit of like a hiss.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're getting cheap electronics like that is a cheap piece of gear.
Yeah.
Especially in the audio game, that is cheap.
in a good way, kind of.
Well, cheap in a bad way too, in that
but
it doesn't run quietly. It's a loud device, and so like I actually think the 32-bit float and that thing is basically pointless. But I think that they calibrated it probably because they're like, you can just jack it up though.
Yeah.
Which is probably true. But
I keep it at medium because I'm like, whatever, I can just
I just put it on auto now with that one.
Ooh, do you find that works? Because I remember with the first DR10L, and granted, I think it was some update they did, some firmware update. I was like, man, it's not as bad as like the H1, but like auto still would hunt for me a little bit.
A little bit.
That had some issues.
I would say, I haven't had the issues that anything
That was a long time ago, though.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't feel like I've had anything that really affected anything.
Yeah.
So, because it's like, honestly, like the first 3 seconds of what someone's saying when they start talking is usually garbage.
It's just them going,
So it's like, yeah, there's my level set. And then, so maybe that's just because I don't care about what people are saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm not that
Depends on the
nervous.
use, I guess.
I'm not that nervous about it because the way I use that camera,
It's still usable usually too. It's just like
the way I use that audio is I just find the good part I want and grab it. Like I'm not like in an actual full ceremony. I don't really care if that problem is in there.
Yeah.
I don't think the couple would ever notice it. I
No,
would notice it a little bit maybe. So
If they were like, "What happened?" I'd be like, you just talk so loud all of a sudden.
I just don't think anybody would ever notice. Because
Well, 90% of people I feel like don't watch your ceremony film anyway. So you know what?
Yeah. So who's our next filmmaker?
All right, next filmmaker, while we get it queued up, is coming from Tony Ubale. Ubale Films. I probably mispronounced that. Drizzling all day, so we had to have the wedding inside. Had my lights a little too bright. Sony A7S III and a 5D Mark IV. Interesting. I'll be curious to see what that looks like. Although I will say, you know, when I made the transition to Sony, there was probably at least a full year, if not maybe a little more, where I was shooting A7S II as my main camera and probably 2 5D Mark IIIs as my B and C camera. So,
I mean,
and honestly, if I went back and watched those films, you can probably tell.
Yeah, you definitely can tell.
Especially with the A7S II.
John asked a question. He said, "What do we think about the DJI mics?" So I don't have the newest version. I have this version.
No, we did a little video about I think I did it on my thoughts on the DJI Mic 2.
Yeah. So I have
But I also don't have
the one. So I don't have the 2. So to say, but my experience with the 1 is that I love it. It's great for content creation. What I don't love about that, and my guess would be they still have a similar problem, is that the recording skips. Like as it's recording, you can hear it like go like, and try to like have that digital catch up, and so it screws up the syncing really bad.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And
we had asked some people about that. I think.
And it has drift too. So like that means like it's not the clock. Like I think that the recorder is cheap and the clock they're using is cheap, and so it probably is susceptible to like heat and different conditions. So like we pretty much like when we use it for content, the recording is like a backup, but we don't use it. We just use going directly into the camera from the receiver, and I think that's kind of junk. Like with weddings, like that kind of would like really bothers me. And we tried it for a couple, and the drift, like it just really, I didn't trust it. I was just like, that's why I just go back to the DR10s because it's like they don't drift.
I'm with you. I have one as well. I've got it right here. I love using it. You will see it in most recent like tutorial stuff
like,
that I do.
But
here
you're using it kind of like
school.
me too, right? Like just a traditional.
I love it for that. I can just pop it on. I can pop it on anything. That's what's easy, right? Like the clip for a DR10L, it works with most stuff. You can make it work, whatever. But the DJI mic, I love the little magnet. I can
it's awesome.
wherever I need.
And it sounds nice. It's a nice
mic.
It
sounds great. But I don't like it for weddings. I just don't. There's no way I would replace my DR10Ls with that. I would not replace my Sony TX660, which I have on the microphone instead of this. I just, and I haven't even really experienced that skipping and lagging and drifting, whatever. So like, I totally like it for certain things. I don't think it's the answer for weddings. You can use it for weddings if you already had it for sure.
You could use it.
There's better options. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I'm just big into like I want everything to be like a known thing when I do weddings.
Yeah.
I
don't like variables where I'm like, I hope this works.
Yeah. Or like, oh, we were editing this film. Like every time something just doesn't work and I'm adding like 3 hours to the project because I'm fixing some. Oh,
Just sit there. An hour and a half of that is me just at my desk going, I'm so mad about
yeah,
this.
yeah. You're just clenching your
Yeah.
fist in anger
Why do I have to deal with this?
because you just keep singing the same ceremony over and over again, and then you realize halfway through that there was one part where the guy gave a speech and it like cut off
Dude.
2 seconds of what he said.
You know what I was dealing with in the most recent wedding I was editing is like the what is it, priest, not pastor, priest. He is like, you know, there's some people who just the way they talk, like I know it's synced up, but it doesn't look synced up. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
like the way he moves
Especially
his
old
mouth
guys.
or his lips. Yeah, some old priest guy, and I'm like,
And old people with
Like-
dentures can be really hard to sync up because their teeth move differently than their
yeah,
lips.
just like this doesn't look like what he's saying, but if I move it 1, 2, 3 frames in either direction, it's worse. So I know it's where it's supposed to be.
There's
but I'm
also
just like,
there's also the thing that a lot of people don't accommodate for when they're doing this is the proximity effect in those big
Yeah.
churches plus the echoes. It really actually can make it really hard to sync
Totally.
your cameras because the audio is moving. It's like a thing. It's a
Yeah.
people don't realize
there's
like,
time.
There's time.
It's
There's
fast,
sound waves.
but there's time.
It's not as fast as people think.
Yeah.
Like go to a big festival and there's a reason why they have speaker arrays all the way down
Yeah.
because like literally once you're like 1,000 feet from the stage, you're gonna hear it so much later than you see it that it's gonna be like really off-putting watching a cymbal crash and then hearing it like a second later.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when you're editing ceremonies, people are not keeping into account that like you're trying to sync it up so that it looks like it's coming out of his mouth immediately, which is
Yeah.
why I love the DR10.
Yeah.
All that to
Agreed.
say. So, but you might have to offset it a little. So here we go. Let's watch this film.
Here we go. Also, my camera is going to die any second.
No, it's
so I'll
not.
get up and replace it.
Don't say that.
No, it will because I didn't replace the battery and it's not plugged in.
Well, go do it.
Okay.
I'll pause this film and I'll just talk. So as you can see here, we have a horse. We have an old car. We have a bunch of sad women who are looking
This
sad.
is J background. J background info.
And a very interesting dress. This could be the new Marvel movie. All female cast, female Avengers, kind of walking towards us, girl bossing their way through the day. And and I'm here for it. I'm here for whatever new content that Disney wants to make, and just kind of take my money. I'm watching it. That's how it is, and that's what this film is. This is the trailer for the new Disney all-female Avengers movie. Wow. How do you even shoot weddings being so slow at changing your batteries?
Because my freaking camera is up against a wall.
Listen, buddy.
And it's going to tell me I'm using a third-party battery, so I got to wait for that message to
Get-
pop up.
Get a tether and put a V-mount on it.
What'd you say?
Get an adapter and put a V-mount on it.
There it is. Yeah, I could do that. I run off a power bank usually, but I didn't charge it. So,
I made it through the first season of Loki, and that's about where as far as I could make it, Grant. I was like, no, I think I'm done with this. So I never watched the second one. But anyway, here we go. Here's this movie.
We're back.
Yeah. I'm
Instant increase to your film is don't use that font and probably don't.
I just literally
I don't like the date.
They know the date they got married. You don't need to put that in there.
Yeah.
But also, all I can think of is that Ryan Gosling skit on SNL, the papyrus skit.
Yeah.
It's the font from Avatar.
Yeah. I have a feeling that we're gonna have a discussion on taste and music music a common discussion in this
My favorite thing is
thread. That is a cool dress.
I love that dress. Whoa. What was
That
this FPS? Sometimes
wait, how did this even happen? Is this like a 60 timeline?
It's probably a 60 FPS timeline.
And then he's slowing. Wait, there was stuff slowed down? Was that
Whoa.
120?
Whoa.
Wait, go back. I wasn't watching.
You gotta see this.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about, I think, taste and a refined taste in weddings, because there's some good shooting and stuff in this, but
This
there's
is
just some choices that I wouldn't recommend making.
honestly, I want to explore this film a little more, because if you're gonna drop the
Keep it
eyeball
rolling,
zoom
keep it
on me,
rolling.
yeah,
Well,
let's
it's
just
the side, it's not even the eyeball.
you're gonna drop the little kid eyeball zoom in your film. Like, there's got to be more Easter eggs. I'm trying to figure out like that handy cam looking kind of.
Yeah.
What gear is he using again?
I don't think it said. Let me just check though. No. Oh wait. Yeah, they did. This A7. Oh, it's A7S III. I thought it was just the A7 III. Okay, A7S III and Canon 5D Mark IV.
Huh. You know, I don't know what you did and how you did it.
All right, here's my thought. 60p timeline. Slow-mo shot at 120, slowed to 60.
Maybe that's what they did? Oh my gosh, dude. No.
Wait, can we hear
Oh my
these
gosh.
bows?
I just want to see this. Look at the emphasis they put on this kid.
Yeah, the like super crop or super.
The kid
post-zoom,
turn his head and
zoom
look
out.
at. No, listen, look. Like, I feel like this filmmaker doesn't know the difference between an actual dramatic moment and not a dramatic moment at all. Like,
Today is the day that will start the rest of our lives together. It's been a bumpy ride for us to get here, and nothing has been more worth the wait. I promise to catch you if you fall and always be there for you on your good days and your bad days. I will always be there to make sure you can continue to be the most beautiful passenger princess that you are.
Now, I will say I don't think this place is set up for an indoor
not at all.
ceremony.
No, this is a really challenging situation, and that's
100%.
And so
but some of what we're gonna critique and some of the stuff that we're pointing out here early it's irrelevant too.
what I'm trying to figure out is like I'm trying to find where some spots where this filmmaker was in a better situation, so I can give them like some compliments that are based on how do they even.
We are gathered here today to
When do we get out of this song too?
and rainbows to my black cat.
I'll give them this. The audio sounds fine, so
I can't tell ever. I never
It's-
comment on audio.
So, she's a social butterfly and I am the antisocial moth. Amber was my best friend, my first best friend, and still is, and I have looked up to her.
okay.
for
Let's just do
compliment.
this one because I don't need to see anymore. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's more of the same. So
Just play it. Just let it play in the
yeah,
background.
we'll let it play.
Yeah.
Man, I really don't like this film.
Yeah, it's weird because again, I think there are shots selectively that are good. Like there are times where this person can get a good shot.
I don't know about that.
I think there are a couple good ones.
Like,
in
not to
here.
be mean to the person, but like right here, like you have this light blasting them.
Yeah, he acknowledged that he was like, yeah, it was rainy, so we moved inside. My light was too hot. But I'm like, okay, your light is blasted. Stop down on your camera. I
Well,
don't
also,
like,
but like you didn't even match the white balance
yeah.
of the
Yeah,
lights. Like
It
there's
might
so
just be a cheap light that's not. It's a lot. There's a lot of choices where you're just like, oh man, having the right mindset would change this film so much, both in executing the shooting and in the choices in editing.
I really think that this filmmaker is not ready to do their own weddings. And there's so much stuff going on in this. Like, they need to work with someone, and it doesn't mean they don't have to. Like, here's what I believe. I believe anybody who is coached and trained can do a good job with this thing. And so some people are like maybe a little more talented than others or whatever. Like that is such a poor choice right there.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to phrase it, is like, this person, they know how to use their camera. I'm not like, one of the things that I to give credit, I would not say is like, oh my God, like the handheld was so rough. The cameras, like the motions are so unintentional.
Fine.
Yeah. That's like almost where they'd excel. And like having that guidance under somebody who can be like, no, we're inside with these yellow lights over. We're putting our light at tungsten. We're matching that.
Well, and also like this couple doesn't want to be blasted in the face during their ceremony. We need to So I think we're working. I agree. I think if was it Tony? I think was the name. If you can work under somebody that you think is doing good work for free for a little while, assist, carry their shit. I don't care. Then start second shooting for them. Like, it's gonna have a huge impact on you. It's going to help you make the right choices in the moment. And it's also going to allow you to study films where you see start to finish, even if you're not editing them, right? What goes into that full film. And then I think the ideal takeaway from that would be making better decisions in the edit. There's a lot of stuff that, like, just in a very frank way is just cheesy over the top on this. Like, well, and also
this is not a dramatic couple. It's not a dramatic day. It's forced into this box of extreme drama, and just I don't think that works.
No, and that's a wedding industry thing. Like, a person in the industry would be like, "Oh, this is no shade on this couple. This is just a basic wedding.
It's just
a basic normal people wedding."
Which is what 99.5% weddings are.
And it's nothing wrong with that. And it's a good thing. Like, it's a nice
she has
wedding.
A sweet dress.
I'm looking at this going, okay, they interact really well, right? If this was my couple, they interact really well. She's beautiful. He has a cool dress. And you know, like, they're down for whatever. Like, they literally let you do this shot where you made all the guests line up in the aisle, and they went back up to the front and did this shot for you.
Yeah.
Like, that person is a cool couple. They would have done an actually better shot for you.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing like these, this is my advice that's maybe a little less mean, and I definitely don't want to be mean, but I'm just being honest. Like, I think this person is not ready to be charging money for this. They make there's too many mistakes that they're making. They're just, and like, I think a lot of couples would be very unhappy with this film. And
I don't know that it portrays them or their day like the best way. And I think that's going to be ultimately where your hang up is. Like, there's a certain amount of like, hey, I wouldn't do this, but you do you know, that can exist in any film. But I do think no matter what, I'm always portraying the couple well. And I just don't know that this does that in every aspect. And the nice thing too is you are essentially one like mindset shift away from a big jump in improving the film.
I think if you just worked with someone who is like,
but work with somebody.
No, we don't do that. We're not going to do this. That's not appropriate for weddings.
Yeah.
You know, and then also like, oh, I want to do this film. I love epic stuff. I think this is I'll just speak beyond this filmmaker because I see it all the time. Do not look down on your couples. And what do I mean by that? Why am I saying that? Well, to me, when you take your couple, what they are and who their day is, and you jam in a bunch of weird, inappropriate music that lets me know that you wish they were getting married at the Breakers or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, cut the wedding that you shoot. Cut the music. Like make it about them.
Make the wedding that you capture.
Yeah,
because that's going to go way longer that's going to go way further for you as a company, as a person, whatever, as a creative and crafting your films. Like, have your fingerprint on it, but like making their wedding film, not saying, oh, have you seen Ray Roman's film? Look at this one at the Breakers. Like, I'm going to totally make that with my barn wedding in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota. Like, it does not work.
It doesn't work.
And it can get to the point where it's almost like distasteful, like in a negative way, I would say. So,
maybe this couple loved it, but I can imagine them not loving it. And
I really think, again, like, this is really not, I know we're tearing this apart. I hope that this filmmaker can
recover
our
from my brutalization.
Burns. Jay had a rough week, so somebody was going to get it.
I got pink eye. I have pink eye right now. You expect me to watch this film with pink eye?
But like, I would reiterate again, this is meant to be to help you make better films. And the biggest critique, if you're willing to put yourself out there and get your films reviewed, I have to imagine you are willing to put yourself out there and say, I'm not quite there yet. I need to work under somebody who can mentor me a little bit. And that is going to have a huge impact for your career. And it is going to allow you to, I think, have the right eye, have the right mindset for what works and what doesn't work, and how to approach and how not to approach certain aspects of shooting a wedding and editing a wedding.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I'll tell you. Most couples with this level of skill and at this price point are not going to do this stuff for you. And so you're not going to be able to make this film. And so it's like, you need to learn to make films at this price point and with couples like this and with places like this that feel correct and appropriate. And when you get the opportunity to actually make this film, you'll know it. Like, you'll know it when you, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to use this epic song, and it will make sense, and it will
for this epic venue or this crazy room. Like, wow, look at this room. Like, exactly. You'll know.
You'll know. And I think that it's just not this. And the way you get into that room, I think a lot of people think, like, I want to make these. It's one of the biggest misconceptions, I think. People go, I want to, show what you want to grow, right? Which is true. But they go, like, I want to shoot epic weddings. So what I need to do is take these normal weddings and try to make them look epic or sound epic. They don't even look epic, but sound epic, so that I can get booked at the
That is a great shot.
That's a good
Foreground
shot.
Candle, bokeh, super great execution and thought.
There's a lot of totally fine shots.
With you, Jay.
So
of like forcing those weddings into the box that they don't fit in isn't the way to do it. The only thing I will say is, if you want to be like, man, I want to shoot these epic things, I think there is a place for saying, here's your wedding film, it's very you, whatever, and then saying, for me personally, for my portfolio, for my Instagram, I'm going to make a 25, 30-second little teaser that's a little more epic than the day was.
Here's
I don't
what
think
I'm
you
going
can
to tell you, though.
Extreme, but I do think you can do a little bit.
The way you get into epic events, if you're trying to break in, first of all, the first thing is to be really good.
Yeah.
And have great taste.
And there's a lot of great competition.
Yeah, the competition is they're not going to make these mistakes. And second of all, is to go to an actual epic wedding and be willing to do it for free or discounted. And that's the way.
An epic wedding.
That's the way you do it.
So you can experience it.
But, listen, people, I don't know how far into their career they are. And
I don't know either.
I'm not trying to say you're stupid or something for making these mistakes.
No, not at all.
But I am saying I find it to be unpleasant. And if one of my people or myself shot a wedding like this, I would refund their money. Because I'd be like, oh my God, we screwed up every exposure. We made a lot of mistakes, and we can't make these mistakes. So
yeah.
Cool. That's the real world, buddy. That's the real world.
Yeah. Again, I hope, you're able to take, I know we were, rough on it in some ways, but I do hope you're able to see that comes from a place of wanting to help, wanting people to be able to grow. And sometimes, like, look, I'll put it just straight up to you guys. Okay. There's plenty of different groups and communities you can be in. I think we are well known for not sugarcoating stuff. Like we have the best intentions. I promise you that. We want what's best for this industry, for you all as filmmakers. But yeah, I mean, look, like I do think that we will put things nicely sometimes, and we have myself, Jay, and Jared, and we're all different people, and we're all our own individual people too. But like, we're not gonna also like hold your hand and pat your back and not tell you anything that you need to improve upon.
Well, this filmmaker, I'm trying to save their life.
Yeah.
Like their filmmaking.
Their filmmaking life.
Like I'm trying to say, like, you want to do this for a living, you can.
Yeah.
But you need to go work with someone, and they're going to protect you from destroying your business, and they will help you, and your talents will actually shine through. And I think that's the goal, is like,
just like anything, you got to do the work, and what that work is might look very different for different people. Like some people need to learn how to use a camera. Some people need to learn how to light a scene. Some people need to learn
that
when
scene
to
right
not
there.
Do something.
All I'm looking at with this whole thing is you don't want to be this guy. Like lighting it like that is so unpleasant to the couple. I just can't stop thinking like this is like that filmmaker that everybody's like, this guy, he's bringing his lights and he's doing this, and like all the things that we're always trying to break as a stigma.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing that in this film, and I'm like, you don't want to be that guy. That's why you need to work with someone, because that person will be like, you'll be like, should we set up lights and blast them in the face to their first look? No, dude, we really shouldn't be doing that. Like it's not the vibe.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying is like, the only way to do that is watch someone else who does it. And then you look at their stuff and you're like, oh, that actually looks pretty good. Yeah. Like I didn't need to do that. Like this is your best looking stuff right here.
Yeah.
Like
using
all this,
a window.
Yeah. Like it looks totally fine.
Looks nice.
So.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything you want to add to this wonderful uplifting live stream that we had?
I don't know. We have a bunch of new podcasts out. Go watch them. It's new stuff. It's also some old stuff that we brought over, right, from Wedding Pros. For those unfamiliar with the Wedding Film School lore, both Jay and myself had our own channels.
Yes.
We
came in to
ported some stuff
to get abused by Craig Adams fans.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll be back next week, I think. I don't think I have anything.
Oh yeah, you know what? Okay, this is the thing we were supposed to talk about. Let me see if they actually responded to me.
No response.
Ugh,
to my knowledge.
Freaking person changed the schedule again.
Oh wait, maybe you have. I guess in the group text I didn't see anything.
Okay, so I think, did we decide on Tuesday or Wednesday?
I would not throw out a date.
Dang it. All right. We have
something in the works, and we'll let you know when.
Makes me want to just push it off a week. But regardless,
maybe we'll do that. We'll probably be back next week. It might be at a different time, and we'll give you a good reason why. Otherwise, we'll be back at our normal time, and we'll see you next week for that. We have our sister channel, the Wedding Film School Show. Go check out the podcasts and things on there. Consider becoming a member, which gets you extra minutes of your film reviewed, and some other benefits, some more direct access to myself and Jay. You can do that by hitting the join button down below right there. And also, if you want to help our podcast, no money, no posting, although you can do that too. We would love to have you go to weddingfilm.school/AMA and submit a question or a topic that you think would be a great conversation for us to have, or something that you're intrigued or interested in. That is how we're formatting some of the newer episodes of the podcast, kind of prompted by what's going on in the heads of our community and our subscriber base. So we would appreciate that. Leave a like on your way out. I think that's all that I've got.
Love you guys. Appreciate all of your submissions.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting us roast your films, and we will see you